Why does shot 4 stop matching shot 1? Because the look is a description you keep retyping instead of a reference you locked. InVideo Agent puts the style on a sheet and attaches it to every generation, like a character sheet. At volume, this is the whole ballgame. One drifting shot is an annoyance. A drifting look across a whole piece means recutting work you already paid time for, and the schedule never has room for that. What is this piece? 80 seconds, widescreen, silent apart from effects, with no score and nobody speaking, built in a handmade stop-motion look. Same pipeline as live action, one extra artifact at the front. What I want to show you is where the time actually goes, which is not generating. The time goes into 4 kinds of lock, and once they exist, the generating stops being the risky part of the day. What goes on the sheet? Surfaces, proportion, lens, and cadence, all written as facts. Matte skin with pores and faceplate seams, hair sculpted in fiber, cloth with the weave still visible at distance, head slightly oversized, a shallow miniature depth of field so the world reads small and physical, 24 frames a second on 1s and 2s. Anything you cannot check by looking does not belong on the sheet, because an item nobody can test is an item that gets reinterpreted on every shot. Can mood boards do this job? No, and swapping one for the other is how a look gets watered down. Emotional material tells you the piece should feel tender or melancholy. It says nothing about surface behavior. On this project, the emotional reference was labeled and kept out of the attachment set entirely, which sounds pedantic right up until the week somebody in a hurry attaches the wrong file to 9 shots. How do the character locks work? By sequence, rather than by person, which is what makes them fast. Daniel wears 2 outfits across the film, so there are 2 numbered locks, and each shot calls the one it needs. The everyday lock is January 2nd. An earlier take, 1.1, was superseded and pulled. Nora is 1.5. Numbering beats naming at any volume, because a number can be checked against a shot list without anyone having to remember anything. Does everyone need a full sheet? Absolutely not, and this is where throughput is won. 4 characters in this film appear for seconds only. A co-worker, a customer, a street vendor, a stranger on a train. Everyone is video only, 1 anchor, no stills, no keyframes. Full turnarounds for walk-ons are days of work protecting against a drift nobody could see anyway. Spend those days on the leads, who are on screen long enough for a mistake to land. How do you build locations? Empty, always. The train interior is its own plate with nobody in it. Bright stainless steel, vertical grab poles, overhead loops, molded bench seats, louvered shutters, fluorescent tubes. InVideo Agent adds people in at the shot. A plate with a person baked into it is a scene, and scenes are single-use, which is exactly the kind of waste that compounds when you are producing at pace. What is in the plan? Numbers rather than adjectives. Act 1 is 58 seconds. Shots run 1 to 2.5 seconds each, and the cadence is fixed. That shot length is why this project has a lot of shots, and a high shot count is precisely the condition under which drift turns invisible. Because nobody inspects the 41st as carefully as the first. Numbers in the plan are what stop that being a matter of stamina. Do more references, buy more control. More references cost you control. The rule on train shots was 1 or 2 attachments, ideally the one rendered night carriage plate, with the rest of the interior written in words. Stack a dozen and they fight, and the render averages them. Settle stills before clips too. 1 generation fixes a still. A clip takes several, and those are the ones that eat an afternoon you had allocated to something else. What does drift look like when it slips through? Convincing. An early train reference came back as a dark enclosed vintage carriage, a good-looking image belonging to a different film, and 2 more slid toward a generic metro. My own miss was smaller and worse. A platform reference had rain falling under a covered roof, which is physically impossible, and it got through several passes, because rain looks like atmosphere, and atmosphere is the one thing nobody stops to question. So what catches it? InVideo Agent runs a check against what you loaded rather than against memory. Renders get compared to the attached sheets, and the disagreement gets reported. And anything that looks off can be walked back to the reference that produced it. Nothing fixes itself. It shortens the hunt from a day to a minute. And at volume, that gap is the entire reason the check earns its place in the pipeline. Don't the other platforms do style references? They do, Higgsfield exposes a style reference parameter on every generation. The gap is scope. A reference attached per generation is fine at 10 shots and quietly unreliable at 100, because attaching becomes a manual step, and manual steps get dropped exactly when the volume is highest. Held in context. The project's memory in-video agent attaches it itself, and the busy week stops being a risk. What does this not solve? Plenty. It holds the look and nothing else, so timing is still on you, and timing is where animation actually fails. It does not manufacture feeling, and a smooth surface slides past a review in a way a wrong face never does, which means the drift that ships is almost always the quiet kind rather than the obvious one. The honest version of this workflow is that it moves the risk earlier rather than removing it, and earlier is the only place risk is cheap. So, did it hold across the whole piece? Cut together? Yes. Pores and seams read the same at the end as at the start, the weave stays visible in the cloth, proportions never shift, and the shallow miniature focus is consistent from the warm interiors through to the cold final minute. The train is recognizably one train in both moods. None of that came from a careful pass at the end. It came from 4 locks written before anything generated. So, what is the running order? Sheet first, with surfaces, proportions, lens, and cadence set down as testable items. Character locks by sequence number, old versions pulled from the set. Walk-on straight to video with a single anchor. Location plates built with nobody in them. 1 or 2 references per shot, never a stack. Stills settled before any clip runs. Then the check, then sound and the cut. 4 locks, and the look stops being something you supervise. If you are deciding what holds a stop-motion delivery together at volume, my answer is InVideo Agent. Find it at invideo.io.